They don't think like you. Not even close. Millionaires, real ones, not influencers renting cars for clout, operate with a mental framework so different, so evolved, that unless you unlearn everything you've been taught, you'll never access the levels they've made normal. Because wealth isn't just the result of working hard, being smart, or getting lucky. It's the consequence of thinking in a way most people never will. If you're stuck in paycheck-to-paycheck survival, you're not just underpaid, you're undertrained in thought. The average person was never taught how to think like a millionaire. They were trained to be a compliant worker, a predictable consumer, a loyal taxpayer, a credit score in a system they don't understand. But millionaires, they reject that programming. They write their own code. And the first line of that code is this: money follows value, not effort. You can work 100 hours a week and never get rich. Because time is a linear constraint. But value? Value can be scaled infinitely. So while most people sell time, millionaires sell solutions. They study pain points, not job listings. They ask one question over and over again. Where is the value leaking, and how can I fix it better than anyone else? They understand money is not emotional. It's mathematical. It flows toward clarity, precision, and problem solvers. Not noise. Not hustle porn. Not effort without leverage. And that's where it begins: leverage. You see, the millionaire mind doesn't chase effort. It chases systems. They don't say, "How can I make more?" They say, "How can I design a system that prints more while I sleep?" That system might be code. It might be content. It might be capital. It might be people. But the common denominator is this: millionaires don't scale themselves. They scale outputs without increasing inputs. And this doesn't happen by luck. It happens by thinking in layers while others think in lines. The millionaire mind thinks in assets. Most people think in paychecks. The difference is subtle but seismic. A paycheck dies the moment you stop working. An asset lives on. It compounds. It multiplies. It grows even in chaos. This is why millionaires obsess over ownership. Not just of stocks or real estate, but of IP, of brand, of platforms, of systems. They don't just earn, they own. But here's what you need to know: they weren't born with that thinking. Most of them built it, by ruthlessly questioning every belief they inherited from the broke mindset. Because here's the truth: poverty has a psychology. Scarcity has a script. And most people are actors in a play they never auditioned for. Millionaires become millionaires when they fire the director of that script and start writing their own. They stop saying, "I can't afford that," and start saying, "How can I afford that?" They stop saying, "I'm not lucky," and start saying, "I'm underleveraged." And it's not motivational fluff. It's rewiring. It's reprogramming. It's a daily war against small thinking, against linear effort, against inherited ceilings. And perhaps the most important shift? Millionaires think in opportunities, not in costs. You say, "That costs too much." They say, "What's the return if I deploy this right?" You say, "That's risky." They say, "What's riskier, betting on myself or staying broke forever?" You say, "I'll try." They say, "I'll test, measure, iterate, optimize." The difference isn't attitude. It's framework. Because while others wait for permission, millionaires self-authorize. They don't need someone to approve their ideas, validate their effort, or tell them what they're worth. They set their own price, and then go prove it in the marketplace. And here's where the average mind panics: rejection. But the millionaire mind sees rejection not as a personal attack, but as market data. Every no is just a signal to refine, not a reason to retreat. They don't fear rejection. They fear irrelevance. So they build. They test. They launch. They fail fast and relaunch faster. That's how they win. And you need to understand, this thinking is not motivational. It's mathematical. It's strategic. It's precise. They apply mental models most people have never heard of: opportunity cost, compounding asymmetry, probabilistic analysis, optionality maximization. To most, these are complex concepts. To millionaires, these are daily default lenses. They look at time as a portfolio, allocating hours to tasks not based on urgency, but based on return. They study attention flows the way others study news feeds, knowing that where attention goes, opportunity follows. They manage relationships not by comfort, but by alignment, surrounding themselves with thinkers, builders, executors, not complainers. They study systems, not just motivation. They obsess over how things actually work, not just how they feel. And the deeper you go, the more invisible the habit becomes. Millionaires ask better questions. They don't ask, "How do I make money?" They ask, "How do I create a value engine that scales independently of my effort?" They don't ask, "Should I invest in this?" They ask, "What does the downside look like, and how survivable is it?" They don't ask, "Is this worth it?" They ask, "How does this play out over 10 years, not just 10 days?" That's the lens. Long-term. Systematic. Asymmetric. You want to know the real difference between broke thinking and millionaire thinking? Broke thinking sees money as the end goal. Millionaire thinking sees money as a tool. To buy time, to buy access, to buy leverage, to buy peace of mind, to buy freedom from reactive survival. And they guard that freedom like a dragon guards gold. They don't sell their time to the highest bidder. They sell results at a premium. They productize themselves, then remove themselves. Because the true millionaire mindset isn't about being rich. It's about being uninterruptible. They don't live life answering to alarms, bosses, bills, or fear. They answer to strategy, systems, and signal. They control inputs. They measure outputs. They play infinite games. And you? You can build this. Not overnight. Not without sweat. Not without sacrifice. But the first lever, the one that shifts the axis, is thinking. Because once your brain stops playing the script of poverty and starts running the code of wealth, everything else becomes inevitable. And in the next part, I'm going to show you exactly how millionaires install these new thought systems, habit by habit, frame by frame, until thinking like a millionaire becomes effortless. If you're still here, it means something inside you knows you were never meant to think small. You weren't designed to scrape by, to stress over rent, to live a life of quiet economic anxiety while pretending it's normal. You were meant to think like the architects of wealth. But for that to happen, we need to install a new operating system. The truth is, the millionaire mind doesn't run on the same software you were given growing up. While you were taught to chase safety, they were learning to design risk. While you were taught to follow instructions, they were learning to build systems. And while you were told to get a job, they were studying how money behaves, how markets move, how leverage works. So let's begin the rebuild. The first system they install is this: default to ownership. You see, most people are trained to seek income. They look for wages, commissions, salaries, quick transactions. But millionaires don't chase income. They chase equity. They want pieces of systems that will keep printing wealth whether or not they're present. This is why they don't just want to make money. They want to own the mechanism that makes money. That's why they ask different questions from day one. The average person asks, "How much does it pay?" The millionaire asks, "What part of this do I own?" Because they know income is temporary. Ownership is exponential. You can make $10,000 a month and still be trapped. Or you can own a system that prints money long after you stop showing up. That's freedom. That's scale. That's real leverage. The second system, time as capital. Millionaires track their time like a hedge fund manager tracks assets. They break it into categories: income-generating time, skill-building time, delegation time, vision time, energy recovery time. They don't see time as something to fill. They see it as something to invest, with expectation of a return. This is why they say no 1,000 times more than they say yes. Every yes costs them compound returns on their time. So unless something multiplies their mission, their value, or their velocity, it's an automatic no. The average person gives away time like it's infinite. Millionaires guard time like it's blood in a war. They schedule thinking time. They batch low-return tasks. They hire out anything under their hourly value. Because they know, time spent on the wrong task is money burned invisibly. And they track it. Just like capital. The third system, permissionless action. Millionaires don't wait. They don't need someone to say, "It's okay," to launch. They don't delay until everything is perfect. They act. Test. Adjust. Execute. Repeat. This is a mental model, speed certainty. Because they know, most wins don't come from genius, they come from momentum. When the average person waits for clarity, the millionaire moves into chaos and learns faster. When most ask for help, they're already building the prototype. They default to action. And that action creates the feedback that produces better outcomes. This is why they seem lucky. But luck is just velocity intersecting with insight. The fourth system. Signal extraction. In a world overloaded with noise, headlines, opinions, trends, distractions, the millionaire mind is trained to detect signal. They ask, what's the market really saying? What problem keeps repeating? Where is the energy flowing? What's the trend behind the trend? While others react emotionally, millionaires respond strategically. They build their decision-making system around pattern recognition. They zoom out. They ask questions like, what would this look like in 10 years? What's being overvalued emotionally but undervalued logically? What's everyone ignoring because it's boring, but inevitable? They're not chasing hype. They're mining signal. Because signal turns into insight. And insight, that's where asymmetric returns begin. The fifth system, input curation. Millionaires have extreme mental hygiene. They don't consume content the way others do. They're not binge-watching drama, reacting to outrage, drowning in distractions. They curate inputs the way athletes curate nutrition. They consume deep, long-form strategic content, peer-reviewed studies, investor memos, books with long shelf lives, conversations with operators they avoid, emotional news loops, gossip, content, outrage, bait, trend-chasing, dopamine traps, because they know garbage in equals garbage out. And the quality of your output, your ideas, your actions, your bets, depends on the clarity of your mind. Their mind is not cluttered. It's clean, precise, focused. And from that focus comes decisive execution. Now the sixth system is less visible, but far more powerful, emotional detachment from outcomes. You see, most people are emotionally entangled with money. Wins make them feel high. Losses break them. They chase validation. They fear failure. Millionaires operate differently. They see outcomes as data, not identity. A failed product isn't a reflection of self-worth. It's a test result. A lost deal isn't a collapse. It's a lesson. They don't personalize market feedback. They use it. This emotional detachment allows them to move quickly, pivot sharply, and keep swinging, while others pause, process, and overthink. They play to win, but they're not destroyed by loss. Because they know success is built on stacked iterations, not perfect decisions. The seventh system, stacked skill compounding. Millionaires don't master one skill. They build a stack of rare, complementary skills, and the value comes from the intersection. They're not the best coder, marketer, investor, or leader. But they're dangerous in all four. This is why their value compounds. One skill makes you useful. 2 skills make you competitive. 3 or more make you irreplaceable. And this compounding gives them leverage that specialists can't touch. They study negotiation, copywriting, sales, psychology, financial modeling, hiring frameworks, marketing, automation, high-leverage decision-making, and they deploy these skills across opportunities. They don't switch careers. They move their skill stack into higher leverage arenas. And with every new domain, the returns increase. This is the difference between working a job and building wealth. One is a task. The other is a machine. The final system for now, vision anchoring. Millionaires anchor every decision against their long-term vision. They know where they're going. And because of that clarity, short-term noise doesn't derail them. They ask, does this move me closer? Does this multiply the machine? Does this scale autonomy or distraction? They're not seduced by temporary gains that cost future freedom. They operate on conviction, not dopamine. And that's why they build what lasts, not what trends. You want to think like a millionaire? Then think in systems. In leverage. In long-term asymmetry. Kill reaction. Install strategy. Kill hustle. Install scale. Kill emotion. Install signal. And in the next part, we'll go deeper into the invisible battlefield, how the average person's relationship with money is subconsciously programmed to repel it. We'll expose the thought viruses, kill the myths, and install the code that attracts, retains, and multiplies wealth, the way millionaires do it without even trying. You want to know why most people never become wealthy? It's not because they lack intelligence. It's not because they weren't born into it. And it's definitely not because the system is too rigged, although parts of it are. They stay broke because they're running code in their mind that repels money. Most people walk through life with a subconscious relationship with money that was never chosen. It was inherited. From parents, culture, media, religion, school. Silent messages passed down for decades, and embedded like viruses in the mental operating system. You can spot these people easily. Listen to what they say. Money doesn't grow on trees. Rich people are greedy. Money changes you. I just want enough to be comfortable. Too much money is stressful. These aren't just sayings. They're beliefs. Operating systems. Root-level code that shapes decisions, perceptions, habits, and ultimately, results. Now imagine trying to become wealthy when the system you're running believes money is bad, dangerous, or morally corrupt. You'll self-sabotage. You'll push it away. You'll undercharge. You'll overspend. You'll avoid opportunities that could change everything, because deep down, you've been taught that money will change you. Or make you a target. Or make you one of them. Millionaires don't carry this baggage. They rewrote the script. They understand something very few are ever taught: money is neutral. It's not good or bad. It's not holy or evil. It's a force amplifier. A magnifier. A tool. Nothing more. It takes the traits you already have and makes them louder. If you're generous, more money makes you radically generous. If you're insecure, more money makes you obsessively insecure. If you're focused, more money makes you strategically dangerous. So millionaire thinkers don't fear money's effect. They upgrade the self that money will amplify. This is a critical distinction. Poor minds want to get money. Millionaire minds want to become the person who can be trusted with money. And that begins with a total audit of your current beliefs. Let's run a scan right now. Ask yourself, what do I believe about rich people? When I see someone in a luxury car, what's my automatic thought? When someone raises their prices, do I feel threatened or inspired? When I get a financial windfall, do I feel safe or anxious? When I make money, do I want to spend it fast or grow it slowly? These aren't surface-level reactions. These are data points revealing the story you carry about wealth. And if you want to think like a millionaire, the first move is this: identify the story and rewire the script. You replace "money is the root of all evil" with "money is a tool for impact." You replace "I'm not good with money" with "I'm learning the code and mastering it daily." You replace "I just need enough to get by" with "I'm building enough to create generational options." Because listen, wealth is not about materialism. Wealth is freedom from compulsion. Wealth is control over your time, your space, your mind. Wealth is leverage to say no when others have to say yes. Wealth is the power to choose. Most people don't choose. They comply. They settle. They survive. Millionaire thinkers design. And that design starts with rebuilding their financial nervous system. Let me break that down. Your financial nervous system is how you feel and respond to money in real time. It controls how you handle pricing, how you negotiate, how you save, invest, or spend, how you respond to growth and loss, how you experience stress, shame, and celebration around wealth. Most people's systems are fried. They freeze under pressure. They panic in abundance. They ignore numbers entirely, or obsess over them with anxiety. Millionaire minds don't ignore money, but they also don't worship it. They build emotional neutrality around it. Because the moment you can view money as just a reflection of value transfer, you remove all the emotional noise. You become dangerous. You can charge what you're worth. You can walk away from bad deals. You can delay gratification. You can play long games. And here's what most never understand: millionaires aren't always brilliant. They're just calm when others panic. They're just measured when others get greedy. They're just rational when others become emotional. This emotional regulation is the bedrock of financial scaling. It's what allows them to handle high-stakes deals, multi-million-dollar swings, market collapses, taxation strategy, investment due diligence, team payroll during downturns, because they've trained their nervous system to respond, not react. Now, let's go deeper. Millionaires build their relationship with money around one question. What do I want money to do for me? Not just, how much do I want? That's a broke question. Broke people obsess over amount. Millionaires obsess over function. They ask, do I want autonomy? Do I want location freedom? Do I want to invest in talent? Do I want to build legacy vehicles? Do I want capital to compound so I can exit time-based income? This level of clarity informs every financial decision. They don't flex. They invest. They don't chase dopamine. They optimize return on energy. If buying that car delays their ability to fund a better asset, they wait. Not out of fear, but out of alignment. This is where discipline stops feeling like denial and starts feeling like freedom. Because they're not saying no to things they can have. They're saying no to things that don't fit the plan. And the plan is owned by them, not dictated by society, peers, trends, or emotion. That's power. Now here's a killer insight. Millionaires build habits that honor their future self. Every dollar saved is a gift to their future freedom. Every asset bought is a vote for their future wealth. Every temptation resisted is a deposit in their future bank of discipline. They think in time travel. Not, what do I want now? But, what will 45-year-old me thank me for? They play long when others play now. And that's why they win. Because they've built a relationship with money that isn't reactive, it's relational. They talk to their money like a partner. They track it. They direct it. They give it jobs. They know where every dollar is, and where it's going. Because money that is ignored, leaves. But money that is respected, directed, and protected, compounds. And that compounding, that's where wealth isn't just built, it becomes inevitable. And in the next part, I'm going to take you inside the mental frameworks that millionaires use to find, filter, and fund opportunities most people never even see. Because thinking like a millionaire isn't just about holding money, it's about multiplying it strategically, repeatedly, and confidently. Millionaires don't see what you see. They see angles, gaps, leaks in the system. While others walk past opportunity, millionaires pause, zoom in, and calculate. It's not luck. It's not a sixth sense. It's a pattern, refined through frameworks. You see, most people wait for opportunities to be obvious. Millionaires, on the other hand, operate with a different filter. They look for invisible value. They train their mind to ask, what is undervalued here? What is broken that people accept as normal? What is outdated that everyone still tolerates? What are people emotionally attached to, that I can view logically? This is what makes them dangerous. They don't need the crowd to validate an idea. They use first principles. They deconstruct reality. They reverse engineer success. When others say, "That's saturated," millionaires say, "That's lazy thinking." Because saturation is rarely the death of opportunity. It's the death of original thinking. Millionaires look deeper. Here's what most people miss: opportunities aren't found, they're recognized. They've always been there. The difference is in the lens. So let's talk about that lens, the filters that the millionaire mind uses to decode the world. Filter number 1. Asymmetry. This is the first filter they apply to every opportunity. Is the upside massively greater than the downside? Most people make decisions emotionally. Millionaires think asymmetrically. They're not afraid of risk. They're allergic to risk without asymmetry. For them, a good opportunity is one where the downside is survivable, the upside is life-changing, the variables are partially in their control. This is how they win big without gambling. They don't need 10 safe bets. They want one smart asymmetric bet, with capped loss and uncapped return. That's how fortunes are built. Filter number 2. Market mispricing. Millionaires constantly scan for value hiding in plain sight. They ask, what is underpriced attention right now? What market is about to shift, but no one's watching? What asset is undervalued because of fear, emotion, or ignorance? They understand that perception is not reality, especially in markets. Sometimes the best opportunities are boring. They're not viral, not sexy, not flashy, but they're mispriced. And the millionaire's job is not to chase what's popular, it's to capitalize on what's misunderstood. Because money doesn't flow to hype. It flows to value that others overlook. Filter number 3. Strategic leverage points. Millionaires don't ask, what's trending? They ask, what can I do once that continues to work for me forever? They look for leverage points. Places where effort gets multiplied by tools, people, or systems. They ask, can this be automated? Can this be delegated? Can this be digitized? Can this scale without me? They want outputs to increase even if their input stays the same. This is why they build content, software, capital machines, licensing agreements, personal brands, systems that scale. While most are selling hours, they're buying systems. Filter number 4. Inefficiency. Millionaires are obsessed with friction. They find it everywhere. Clunky onboarding processes, slow communication loops, legacy tech stacks, broken customer journeys, outdated pricing models. Where most people see annoyance, they see opportunity. Because where there's friction, there's a business model. Every bottleneck is a revenue stream. Every inefficiency is a problem waiting to be monetized. And they're not trying to build something revolutionary. They just want to remove pain faster, cheaper, or smarter than the current option. That's enough to win. Filter number 5. Psychological arbitrage. This is one of the most advanced filters. Millionaires understand how people think, and they profit from the gap between emotion and logic. For example, people fear loss more than they desire gain, so offer guarantees. People want convenience more than customization, so simplify. People trust stories more than data, so use narrative. This is not manipulation, it's mastery. They understand how attention, belief, and decision-making actually work. They don't fight psychology. They align with it. And in that alignment, they create trust, loyalty, and value. Filter number 6. Timing windows. Timing is everything. Millionaires ask, what's inevitable, but not yet obvious? They study macro trends, behavioral shifts, regulatory patterns, emerging technologies, cross-industry fusions. They don't need to predict the future. They just need to position early. Because wealth often comes not from being the first, but from being early enough with the capacity to scale fast. Think crypto in 2012, YouTube automation in 2017, AI tools in 2022, no-code SaaS in 2024. They weren't secrets. But millionaire thinkers acted when others hesitated. Filter number 7. Energy alignment. Here's what they don't teach you. Millionaires don't just chase money. They chase energy alignment. They ask, does this drain me or energize me? Do I want to wake up to this challenge every day? Does this make me sharper or slower? Because they know wealth requires endurance. And you can't endure something that kills your soul. The best millionaires build around their unique energy, skill, and curiosity. That's how they stay consistent. That's how they compound. They know that sustainable action beats occasional hype. So instead of grinding where it hurts, they build where it flows. Filter number 8. Exponential potential. This is where millionaire thinking separates from six-figure thinking. They ask, can this go from 1 to 100x? Can this attract capital, partners, or platforms? Can this be licensed, franchised, or copied at scale? They don't care about linear growth. They want flywheels. Ideas that, once started, feed themselves. Opportunities that grow with every user. Platforms that reward contribution with exponential exposure. They look for network effects, viral loops, and compounding systems. Because the game isn't about making a million once. It's about building systems that print value repeatedly, with or without them. Now listen closely. These filters aren't exclusive to the elite. They're tools. Tools that you can install, one frame at a time. Start asking better questions. Where's the leverage? What's mispriced? What's emotionally overvalued? What's boring but inevitable? What's my unique advantage? Because wealth doesn't just belong to the connected, the privileged, the early born. It belongs to the trained observer. And in the next part, we go into what makes millionaires truly immune to failure. Execution psychology. The mental armor that makes them consistent, adaptive, and unshakable while everyone else breaks under pressure. You've seen people with brilliant ideas. Game-changing concepts. $1,000,000 talent. But they vanish. They fizzle. They fade out. Why? Because they never learn to execute under pressure. They lack the inner structure. The psychological scaffolding. The mental armor. Millionaires, real ones, aren't superhuman. But they have something most people don't: execution psychology. This isn't about motivation. It's not about hustle. It's about precision. Resilience. Focused firepower over long arcs of time. When others quit at 60%, millionaires are just getting calibrated. So how do they do it? Let's break it down. First, they kill perfection. Most people don't start because they want it to be perfect. They want to plan forever. Overthink. Second guess. Millionaires launch imperfectly. They test. They ship. They optimize in motion. Because they understand the rule. Speed beats perfection in every real-world game. They don't polish forever. They iterate while the engine's running. Why? Because data beats theory. And speed creates feedback. Feedback creates refinement. Refinement creates excellence. Second, they build momentum systems. You see, amateurs rely on motivation. Professionals rely on systems. Millionaires install habits that remove choice. They don't wake up and decide, should I work today? The structure decides. They schedule, thinking time, deep work blocks, check-in loops, no-go zones, because they know the brain is lazy. If you allow decision-making to interrupt discipline, you'll lose. So they build automation in behavior. Sleep, diet, focus, execution, it all gets systematized. That's why they look consistent while others look chaotic. Third, they cultivate emotional immunity. Rejection? Noise. Failure? Feedback. Criticism? Filtered. Millionaires aren't numb, they're trained. They don't let emotions dictate action. They let values dictate systems, and systems run the day. If they get insulted, they measure the source. If they fail, they measure the process. No drama. No story. Because story is what kills momentum. The average mind says, this setback proves I'm not ready. The millionaire mind says, this data shows where to optimize. It's surgical. They remove identity from outcome. And that makes them unbreakable. Fourth, they master boredom. This is where almost everyone breaks. Most people want excitement, novelty, stimulation. Millionaires? They fall in love with repetition. Same product. Same message. Same systems. Every single day. Because they know mastery isn't sexy. It's sustained precision over time. They don't chase dopamine. They chase depth. While others pivot 50 times, they go deep on one thing until it pays. And then, they scale it, automate it, or hand it off. This is how they stay focused while others burn out. Fifth, they use fear as fuel. Millionaires feel fear, but they translate it. Where others feel threat, they feel signal. Fear says, "This matters." Fear says, "This might stretch you." Fear says, "This has meaning." So instead of avoiding fear, they interrogate it. What's the real risk here? What's on the other side of this resistance? What future am I preserving by stepping into this? And then they move, decisively. Because they know fear is usually a sign of growth. And action is the antidote. Sixth, they separate goals from identity. You've seen it. People hit a goal and collapse. Because the goal was their identity. Millionaires don't make that mistake. They see goals as targets, not identities. The mission isn't becoming rich. The mission is becoming capable of building, scaling, and sustaining wealth, repeatedly. That's a process, not an event. It keeps you grounded. It keeps you adaptable. It prevents identity death when markets shift or winds slow down. Seventh, they train for war during peace. Most people wait for crisis to build strength. Millionaires train in advance. They simulate stress. Cold plunges, tactical breathing, mental rehearsal, emotional regulation drills, decision fatigue conditioning, so when chaos comes, they're not surprised. They're ready. They perform under pressure because they've already trained in pressure. Eighth, they track metrics, not moods. Mood is slippery. One bad email and your day's ruined. Millionaires don't let that happen. They track revenue, CAC and LTV, audience growth, time and focus, sleep quality, decision ROI. Their dashboard tells them what's real. Because feelings lie. Data doesn't. And if the system is trending upward, they stay the course, even if emotions fluctuate. Ninth, they protect energy like a religion. Execution dies without energy. Millionaires optimize everything around energy return. They say no to energy leaks. People who drain, tasks that dull, environments that slow, and they say yes to energy compounds, recovery blocks, strategic solitude, movement, and sunlight systems that reduce decision load. They aren't obsessed with doing more. They're obsessed with doing less, but better. It's not laziness. It's efficiency. Because what's the point of working 12 hours if your creative energy peaked at hour 3? 10th, they surround themselves with execution killers. You want to execute like a millionaire? Look around. Who are you around? Millionaires engineer proximity to others who build, think, execute, and iterate fast. Not just hype. Not just talkers. Operators. Strategists. Doers. Because environment beats willpower every time. If you're in a room of action takers, you will take action. If you're in a room of excuse makers, you will adopt their script. They curate their circle like their net worth depends on it, because it does. Finally, they fall in love with the process. Millionaires don't chase the finish line. They chase the daily edge. Can I think clearer today? Can I reduce drag? Can I improve one lever? Can I remove one bottleneck? They know the outcome is inevitable if the process compounds. So they stay loyal to the process, not the applause. They're not seeking permission. They're seeking progress. And when it stalls, they don't quit. They refine the machine. Because for them, execution is art. It's sacred. It's what separates the dreamer from the architect. And in the next part, we go into the financial structures, how millionaires build wealth machines that scale, sustain, and defend their freedom even when the world burns. Wealth is not a bank balance. It's not a single transaction or even a string of successful launches. Real wealth is a system, a living, breathing machine. Millionaires don't just chase income. They build engines. Machines that multiply capital, defend it, reallocate it, and grow it with or without their constant attention. These engines are not magical. They are designed, piece by piece, decision by decision, with precision. If you want to truly think like a millionaire, you must stop thinking in paychecks and start thinking in structures. Let's start from the foundation. The first distinction millionaire minds make is this: wealth is not equal to money. Wealth equals freedom of leverage. And leverage lives in systems. A millionaire doesn't ask, "How do I earn more?" They ask, "What machine can I build that earns when I'm not there? How do I shift from operator to owner? What system protects me from inflation, regulation, or erosion?" Now picture this. There are 4 core machines that millionaires engineer, each one with a specific purpose. 1. Income engine. 2. Investment engine. 3. Defense engine. 4. Acceleration engine. These are not separate. They're interconnected, like gears in a compound machine. Let's build them. Income engine, the front line of value exchange. This is the first machine most millionaires build. It's the system that converts time, skill, or insight into active cash flow. But unlike most, they don't trap themselves in the operator's seat forever. They start where they must, as solopreneurs, consultants, freelancers, agency builders, creators, traders, investors, but their real question is always, "How can this operate without me?" So they build with an exit in mind, not exit from the business, but exit from the day-to-day requirement of their time. They build teams, SOPs, automation, self-service funnels, content libraries, licensing models, subscription systems. They document everything. Every repeated task becomes a template. Every question becomes a knowledge base entry. Every bottleneck becomes an automation target. Because they know the most dangerous income is income that owns your time. They don't want to hustle forever. They want systems that hustle on their behalf. And here's the hidden art: they delay gratification to build structure. While others cash out fast, they reinvest. Revenue goes to infrastructure. Infrastructure creates freedom. Freedom becomes the raw material for scale. Now, once the income engine is stable, they move to investment engine. Turning active into passive. Millionaires don't park money. They deploy it. Every dollar has a job. While average people see money as something to store, millionaires treat it like soldiers, out in the field, multiplying. Their question is always, what is the highest and safest yield per unit of capital and risk right now? So they learn investment languages. They don't try to master everything, but they go deep on index funds, cash flowing real estate, private equity, startups, revenues, share deals, debt instruments, market cycles, tax advantaged assets, because they know the goal isn't to gamble. The goal is to compound safely over decades. Let's get real. $100,000 growing at 8% yearly isn't sexy in year 1. But over 20 years, it's $466,000. Now imagine doing that with $1 million. You think millionaires got rich from hustle? No. They got rich because their capital didn't sleep. It worked while they slept. Every day, every month, every quarter, silently compounding. They don't just look at ROI. They calculate liquidity, risk, inflation, risk, opportunity, cost, time horizon, personal energy drain, tax drag, because it's not about maximum return. It's about maximum aligned return with minimal friction. Now they layer in defense engine, the invisible fortress. This is where most fail. They build, but they don't defend. They make money, then lose it in court, taxes, lifestyle, inflation, or theft. Millionaires fortify. They build legal structures, LLCs, trusts, holding companies, asset protection walls, insurance strategies, tax optimization frameworks, jurisdiction arbitrage, estate planning. They operate like CEOs, not freelancers. Every dollar they keep is more valuable than a dollar earned and lost. They know how to use 1031 exchanges, solo 401k, SQSBS exemptions, international entities, holding core, tax loss harvesting. This isn't greed. It's intelligence. Because why play the game if you're not going to play it well? Defense protects momentum. Defense buys time. Defense is peace of mind. And peace of mind unlocks clarity. Now comes the multiplier, acceleration engine, the scalar's toolkit. This is where wealth becomes legacy. The acceleration engine isn't just about making more. It's about removing bottlenecks at scale. Millionaires use capital, team, brand, and technology to go from 10x to 100x. They hire operators to run the income engine. They install investors to bring scale capital. They build audience leverage through personal brand or community trust. They use distribution channels, YouTube, podcasts, newsletters, as repeatable exposure. They install media engines, so their face, voice, and ideas scale 24/7. They document IP. License it. Syndicate it. Translate it. Sell it. Nothing is wasted. Every idea is recorded. Every process is templated. Every conversation becomes content. And because they think in flywheels, every win feeds the next. Success becomes momentum, not luck. And here's what makes it permanent. Millionaires don't just scale income. They scale autonomy. Every move is designed to reduce time dependency, increase optionality, buy back bandwidth, build team depth. Create strategic moats, unlock asymmetric upside. This is when wealth becomes unbreakable. Now here's the real magic. All of this is built on paper first. Millionaire thinkers don't build reactively. They build like architects. They draw the blueprint. They design the outcome. They reverse engineer the path. They ask, what does $100,000 per month look like structurally? What systems, roles, and assets are required? What's the timeline? What must be eliminated to make space for this? Then they execute, like engineers, not dreamers. And if something breaks, they don't panic. They isolate the variable. Adjust. Test again. It's mechanical. It's emotionless. It's methodical. And here's the ultimate truth. Most people work to survive the month. Millionaires build to outlive themselves. They don't care about flex. They care about ownership, control, and impact. They're not trying to impress the present. They're trying to design a future no one in their family ever thought possible. That's why they build machines. Machines that print freedom. Machines that reduce stress. Machines that make work optional. Machines that protect them from chaos. And those machines, once tuned, give them something no job, no bonus, no client ever can, leverage for life. And in the next part, we go deeper into what separates millionaires from everyone else once the machine is running. The way they think about legacy, succession, and playing the game so well that they never have to play again. They say legacy is what you leave behind, but for a millionaire thinker, legacy is what you build forward, on purpose, with clarity, with architecture. Most people never think about legacy. They think about retirement. They think about escape. They think about a life they can one day run away from. Millionaire minds don't think in exits. They think in extensions. Of values. Of vision. Of infrastructure. Of identity. So when their wealth machine starts humming, they don't check out. They lean in, strategically. Because the endgame isn't cash. It's continuity. And continuity can't be bought. It must be designed. The question that echoes in every millionaire's mind is this: how do I build something that continues to serve, protect, and empower others long after I'm gone? That question alone changes how they structure their time, their business, their family, and their systems. You see, average minds think in transactions. Millionaire minds think in timelines, 10 years, 30 years, 3 generations. They're not just stacking dollars. They're installing culture into code, into teams, into trust documents, into curriculum. This isn't romantic. It's mechanical. Because they know, if you don't encode it, it dies with you. So let's break this down. The legacy code of millionaires has 5 pillars. 1. Codified principles. 2. Asset stewardship. 3. Values-based succession 4. Multi-generational frameworks 5. Impact vehicles. Let's start with the first, codified principles. Millionaires don't just act, they document. They create playbooks, decision rules, guiding laws for their empire. They write why they started, what they stand for, what they refuse to compromise, how decisions should be made, what kind of leader carries the torch, because legacy isn't just about inheritance. It's about intention. If you don't define the values that shape the wealth gets reshaped by time, entropy, and confusion. Second, asset stewardship. Millionaires see themselves not as owners, but as stewards of assets. Their question is, how can this capital be preserved, grown, and directed toward its highest use, forever? They install family offices, private trusts, generational compounding vehicles, tax-efficient wrappers, investment boards, and most importantly, they separate emotion from execution. This isn't about favoritism. It's about fitness. They put stewards in place who have the discipline to protect the machine, not just the desire to use it. Third, values-based succession. Here's the harsh truth. Most wealth is lost by the third generation. Why? Because the character that built the wealth wasn't transferred with the money. Millionaires avoid this by building humans, not just portfolios. They train the next gen in decision-making under pressure, emotional control, long-term thinking, philanthropy, inner discipline. They don't just give access. They give responsibility, in layers. They create rites of passage. They let them earn trust. They make it clear. We're not passing down money. We're passing down mission. Fourth, multi-generational frameworks. Millionaires don't build on sand. They build in structures that can endure recessions, politics, and time. They create holding companies, IP trusts, licensing agreements, revenue-sharing vehicles, self-sustaining funds. Everything has an instruction manual. Everyone has a role. Every dollar has a direction. Because chaos is expensive. But clarity compounds. Fifth, impact vehicles. The most powerful legacies don't just protect family. They empower humanity. Millionaire Thinkers Fund, scholarships, foundations, movement building, media, sustainable ventures, community reinvestment platforms. Because the game isn't just about wealth, it's about witness. What did you do with your strength? Who did you lift? What new realities did you make possible? Millionaire thinkers build legacy like engineers. They map the system. They fortify the values. They build tools that multiply what they believe. Not just for their name, but for the names that follow. Because the true flex isn't dying rich. It's dying replaced. By someone you raised. Or mentored. Or inspired. That's legacy. And in the next part, we go beyond personal impact. We explore how millionaire thinkers use their position, platform, and psychology to shape entire ecosystems, to shift industries, redesign value chains, and influence the rules themselves. Millionaires don't just participate in markets, they design them. They don't play the same game as the masses. They build the board, write the rules, choose the players, and control the flow of chips. While most people think in terms of products and prices, millionaire thinkers zoom out. They see the invisible layers, distribution dynamics, psychological positioning, power networks, behavioral economics, narrative control. They don't ask, how can I sell more? They ask, what needs to exist for everyone else to sell? This shift, from player to architect, is what transforms a millionaire into a market shaper. They start by identifying the core engine of any ecosystem: attention, trust, and leverage. Attention is the currency. Trust is the conversion. Leverage is the multiplier. If they can control all three, they own the ecosystem. Here's how they build it. First, they create platform gravity. They don't just have a product. They build a platform others depend on. Think Shopify. Think Stripe. Think Substack. Think even small niche ecosystems, like a podcast agency that owns all the back-end production, training, monetization, and audience connection tools. They ask, what if I don't just sell on the platform? What if I am the platform? They build systems that aggregate demand, control distribution, offer infrastructure, lock in creators, vendors, or audiences. This isn't manipulation. It's ecosystem engineering. Second, they design value chain compression. They look at an industry and ask, where are the unnecessary middlemen? Where's the friction? What's outdated and bloated? Then they cut. They build vertically integrated models. They own more of the stack. They bring fragmented players under one umbrella. Think Amazon, not because it sells, but because it controls warehousing, delivery, cloud infrastructure, even advertising. Millionaire thinkers do this on smaller scales too, coaches building communities, software, and certification programs, DTC brands owning sourcing, packaging, marketing, and logistics, SaaS builders embedding finance, data, and AI tools. They compress the chain, improve margin, and increase control. Third, they weaponize network effects. They know the most valuable assets get stronger with each user. So they design feedback loops. More users equals more data equals better product, more creators equals more content equals more traffic equals more creators, more buyers equals more sellers equals better price discovery equals more volume. This creates a moat that's nearly impossible to replicate. Fourth, they control the story. Ecosystem builders don't just build, they narrate. They embed their vision into category creation, thought leadership, viral content, strategic alliances. They know that whoever owns the story owns the mind share. So they don't just sell features, they sell belief. They frame their brand as inevitable, essential, foundational. Think how Tesla framed not just EVs, but energy freedom. Think how Apple framed not just devices, but creativity and identity. Millionaires understand that the real war is not for money. It's for mental territory. Fifth, they incentivize participation. They engineer ecosystems where every user becomes a stakeholder. Affiliates earn equity. Creators share revenue. Users influence roadmap. Fans become investors. This creates emotional ownership. And emotional ownership creates viral traction. When people feel like they're building with you, they don't just stay. They fight for it. Sixth, they partner with power. They know when to align with incumbents. They don't fear big players, they strategize them. They ask, what can I offer that a bigger player lacks? What wedge gets me access to their distribution? How do I position myself as the missing puzzle piece? They bring leverage to the table, not neediness. And when they do partner, it's not for validation. It's for expansion. Seventh, they future-proof the model. They ask, what assumptions are we relying on that may collapse? What will the world need 10 years from now that no one's building yet? How can this ecosystem evolve on its own? They build self-healing, self-improving systems. They design tools that teach users. They build communities that generate content. They embed AI that improves performance. They collect feedback that shapes evolution. They think like designers of digital nations, where every citizen plays a role in growth. Finally, they exit strategically, not impulsively. Millionaire thinkers don't sell because they're tired. They sell because the asset has matured to the next logical owner. And if they don't sell, they spin off. They carve out pieces. They license. They franchise. They multiply ecosystems within ecosystems. Because their mind is not on today's valuation, it's on tomorrow's dominion. The goal is never to compete. The goal is to render competition irrelevant. And in the next part, we break down the most secretive power millionaires have, the ability to engineer belief. In markets, in movements, and most powerfully in themselves. There's one force that quietly drives everything in a millionaire's world. It's not money, not intelligence, not even timing. It's belief. But not the flimsy, feel-good type. Millionaire belief is engineered, reinforced, tested, and strengthened until it becomes unshakable. This is what average people miss. They think millionaires are confident because they're rich. But millionaires are rich because they're confident, and that confidence is built, not born. It begins with an internal shift. They believe they are the cause, not the effect. They don't wait for perfect conditions. They create momentum in chaos. They don't rely on hope. They rely on strategy, habits, and constant calibration. They say, if I can't find the path, I'll forge it. If I can't control the system, I'll outgrow it. If no one believes in me, I'll outwork their doubt until belief becomes inevitable. But where does that come from? Millionaires build belief through what we call the conviction flywheel. It has 5 components. 1. Internal narrative. 2. Identity proof. 3. Emotional regulation. 4. Environmental reinforcement. 5. Results loop. Let's break them down. 1. Internal narrative. Every millionaire has a script they rehearse, not the one they speak aloud, but the one they whisper when no one's watching. It goes something like, I do hard things. I figure it out. I make things better. I'm not for everyone, but I'm unstoppable in my lane. This narrative isn't fake confidence. It's rooted in reality. In past action, in real struggle, and pain turned into principles. They aren't waiting to feel ready. They train themselves to act ready. 2. Identity proof. Belief grows when your actions match your story. Millionaires build identity through proof, keeping small promises to themselves, doing difficult tasks, consistently documenting wins, not to brag, but to remind, reflecting on progress regularly. They create a track record, even in private. Because when your identity is based on your past wins, and you're always adding more, doubt has no oxygen. 3. Emotional regulation. Every big move triggers fear, doubt, judgment. Millionaires don't eliminate emotion. They learn to manage it skillfully. They use breathwork, reframing, stoic journaling, tactical visualization. They build emotional muscle like others build physical strength. Because they know, uncontrolled emotion kills execution. And consistent execution is what feeds belief. 4. Environmental reinforcement. Belief dies in toxic environments. Millionaire minds cure it. People who move fast, mentors who push accuracy, communities that prize growth. They cut noise. They exit drama. They leave behind anyone who anchors their identity to the past. They're not arrogant. They're protective. Because belief, once built, must be protected like a flame. 5. Results loop. Belief becomes unstoppable when it's validated by outcome. Millionaires track daily wins, momentum indicators, key decisions that move the needle. They look for feedback. Not from the crowd. From the machine. They don't say, I believe because I feel. They say, I believe because I execute, and my machine responds. It becomes data-driven faith. Now here's the secret layer. Millionaire belief isn't just internal. It's contagious. They engineer belief into others. In their team, in their customers, in their partners. They share vision in a way that makes everyone want to contribute. They use conviction-rich storytelling, strategic vulnerability, precision with language, momentum as social proof, and people follow not because they're manipulated, but because they feel upgraded in their presence. Because real belief, when combined with action, creates magnetism. This is why you trust certain leaders before they speak. Why you follow certain creators before the pitch. Why you believe certain brands even before the product. It's not magic. It's engineered trust. And millionaire minds use it to build empires. In the final part, we reveal what holds it all together. The discipline code that keeps every system running even when motivation fades, markets crash, and pressure rises. Because belief without discipline dies in comfort. But belief with discipline? That's legacy in motion. This is the final layer. The code that locks everything in. The truth is, ideas fade. Emotions fade. Even belief wavers. But what never fails? Discipline. That relentless consistency. That mechanical devotion to the mission, especially when no one's watching. Millionaires are not the most motivated. They're the most disciplined. Motivation is a spark. Discipline is the fire that keeps burning through storms. Every system we've built, the income machine, the investment fortress, the belief engine, the legacy playbook, they all rely on this, your ability to keep showing up. when it's boring, when it's hard, when it's invisible. So how do they do it? How do millionaire thinkers create bulletproof discipline? It starts with something deeper than willpower. It starts with identity alignment. They no longer ask, "Do I feel like doing it?" They ask, "What would someone like me do right now?" And because their identity is anchored to a standard, not a feeling, the action becomes inevitable. This is called standards-based living. They build rituals that trigger action. Same wake time, same mental warm-up, same checklist, same review loop, not to be rigid, but to be resilient. Because life will punch you. Clients will cancel. Markets will crash. Attention will dip. But standards? Standards hold. They create what we call the discipline stack. It includes 1. Identity protocols 2. Ritual containers 3. Environment triggers 4. Accountability loops 5. Dopamine rewiring. Let's go deeper. 1. Identity protocols. Millionaires script their identity through action. They track micro wins. Celebrate consistency. They say, "I am the type of person who shows up, ships, leads, sharpens." This isn't arrogance. It's architected psychology. 2. Ritual containers. They don't rely on discipline alone. They build structure. Morning sequencing, daily deep work blocks, weekly sprints, monthly recalibrations. These containers protect the signal from the noise. 3. Environment triggers. They weaponize their environment. Phones stay in another room. Workstations are minimal. Visual cues remind them of the mission. Discipline becomes frictionless when the environment demands focus. 4. Accountability loops. They install checks. Team meetings, public reporting, trusted advisors. They make it harder to hide and easier to get back on track. Because discipline isn't just about avoiding failure. It's about returning fast when you fall. 5. Dopamine rewiring. They train their brain to love the process, not the outcome. They gamify repetition. They reward effort. They make the act of discipline pleasurable. And over time, what was once a grind becomes a groove. Now zoom out. This code doesn't just build routines. It builds reputation. Within and around you. People see you as reliable. Clients trust you with bigger deals. Teams follow without question. Because discipline is magnetic. It creates confidence in others. It creates certainty in yourself. You stop negotiating with laziness. You stop apologizing for ambition. You stop needing permission. And that's when everything changes. Because the world doesn't reward the most talented. It rewards those who show up like clockwork, with focus, precision, and fire. That's the millionaire code. It starts with mindset. But it ends with motion. Disciplined, directed, and undeniable.